We have breaking news real quick. Let's get to Dan Byer before.
Breaking news from Fox Sports.
Expected, but still shocking as it did happen, is the Denver Broncos have announced that they will be releasing quarterback Russell Wilson following the start of the new league year on March 13th.
Wow, Russell Wilson released. Russell Wilson, thanks so much, Dan. The dead cap hit for Russell Wilson is, it says it's $85 million.
Yep.
$85 million. Now, post June 1st, okay, it could be split into 2 years, 35.4 and 49.6. They chose to do it now. Why? I don't know. But you know who might know? Well, a guy who's been a two-time NFL Executive of the Year. Not talking about perfect timing. Great get, guys. Thomas Dimitroff joins us. Two-time NFL Executive of the Year with the he was GM of the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, that was the Falcons team that went to the Super Bowl, take on another place he worked with the New England Patriots. Of course, he's a co-host of the Sumer Sports Show podcast with Eric Eager. We've had them on multiple times. He's awesome. Thomas, why would you release Russell Wilson now as opposed to waiting after June 1st? Russell Wilson just got released. The dead cap hit, and again, I'm just reading this off the internet, so if I'm wrong, I don't know. But it says $85 million in dead cap for all of lumped into this year, 2024, as opposed to if you wait till after June 1st, it's 35.4 this year, 49.6 next year. Why release him now?
I'm actually very surprised as well. I was hoping to pull George Payton aside and find out why that was, because I wish I had a great answer for you. I don't know. I would definitely consider that. I'm sure there's a reason for it. Have they not commented on it as of yet?
No, this is just breaking news that he's going to be released. So, and the sequence of events was he stripped his social media of anything Denver Broncos yesterday, which is the telltale sign we knew something was coming down.
Knew something was coming down, and that's not an easy place to be in. I heard that he wanted to finish off his career there. You and I both know that wasn't the case.
Yeah, no, I mean he did the media rounds, claiming to want to be back in Denver, knowing that was never going to happen. So, I don't think anything with him happens by accident. Okay, so
I totally agree.
If you're running the Falcons like you used to, right? You need a quarterback. You can get him at a relative discount. Take me through your personal process in comparison to a Justin Fields, drafting a guy, some of the other guys out there on the market.
Well, look, I think you have to look at it like, here's Kirk Cousins. Does he come in? Is he operational for the next couple of years? While you, in fact, do definitely look at a pick at 8, or you move up to 6, 5, or 4, and see where you can get a young quarterback to develop underneath a guy like Kirk Cousins. Believe me, I think there are more teams out there, Doug, that are looking at that idea of what Green Bay has done for years, and maybe it's more appealing to them these days. Because I would actually look at it with that in mind. How do I get someone now that can win games now and continue to build this organization potentially like Kirk Cousins and then go in the draft? There's another guy up in Chicago, of course, who's from the Georgia area. And where is Justin Fields on all this? How do they play there with the Justin Fields approach, right? Remember, this is very important. He was at Georgia, left, of course, as you know, right? So he's not hanging around the Georgia area all the time. Now he comes back potentially with a guy like Ryan Pace. Remember, Ryan Pace drafted him up in Chicago. Ryan is now essentially the assistant GM in the Atlanta Falcons. Right. Ryan has a very good relationship. That's a really interesting thing as well. So there are two legitimate free agent type quarterbacks that can help this team, jump up to the next level that they need, as you know, right now.
It's going to be really interesting to see where he plays. Now, also later in your career, I've heard Pittsburgh Steelers when you struggle with your arm strength in the altitude of Denver, doesn't it stand to reason you should want to play indoors? Not the AFC North is Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Baltimore, all outdoors, all rough weather. I don't see that as a fit there, and no connections with offensive coordinator as well or head coach. I don't understand that one as a fit for Russell Wilson.
No, I don't as well. I don't know where Russell is going to end up, and I think there are still many teams out there that think we could utilize him, of course. But, I mean, at the numbers, I'll be interested to see what his agent will be looking for on that. Because I think it's one of those situations, as you said, I think it has to be indoor where things are clean in my mind. I still think that he could probably do something for a team, but at what level and what money are you willing to pay that, of course, is something that would be on a GM's mind.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to look at your owner in the eyes and suggest that he is worth any of the money that you are talking about, of course.
Well, I think the hardest thing, honestly, is for Russell Wilson to understand that he's no longer going to be a $30-40 million a year guy. And, like, everything is different when you're not that guy. You know?
No question about it. Yeah, and look, those guys, as you know, and rightly so, have huge egos about them.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. That's not easy.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, you know this from, like, what happened to Matt Ryan in Atlanta was he got really upset because they were kicking the tires on Deshaun Watson, right? And he's been the MVP of the league. He's been Mr. Atlanta Falcon. And, you know, they started to look around at Deshaun Watson. He got mad, and he never played for the Falcons again. So that even the classiest dudes, they have an ego. You can't be that successful without a healthy ego. Sometimes a little bit too healthy for some. All right, the draft combine has come and gone. And the quarterback stuff is pretty interesting because you had a couple guys that did throw, and they, by all accounts, well, shot up the draft boards. What's the reality to what we saw in Indy?
Well, look, I mean, I know the idea that Caleb Williams doesn't show up and he's going through what he's going through now about his medical situation, which is another topic of conversation. I believe it's happening more and more. We saw it happening, you know, over the last 2, 3, 4 years at the Senior Bowl, right? The top-notch people weren't going to that event. You're going to see more and more of that happening here in Indianapolis, of course. Does it affect them? Not necessarily. I think the combine will always be there for the later first rounds and through the second and beyond, of course. How you make a decision on a guy like Caleb and you know, Marvin Harrison, as well as, you know, whoever else didn't show up and didn't throw. Look, back in the day, we used to look at that. We used to take offense to that. You and I most know that is days of past, right? This group, I thought it was a really interesting conversation point. This is the first group to come through NIL, right? They approach things very differently than those groups years before, right? We used to sit around in our scouting rooms and moan about these players that didn't put their best foot forward, and how could they do that? In today's world, we know how they could do it. It's all about the money. It's all about being as healthy as they can be. So, with that being said, there are other quarterbacks out there, as you know. I mean, look, I liked what some of those guys did. I loved watching Bo Nix out there, and look, you look at guys like, you know, J.J. McCarthy and guys like that, and Michael Penix and people like that. Did they up their stock by being considered around the other quarterbacks that didn't show up? That is something to consider.
Okay, sure. Help me with J.J. McCarthy, okay? Because I get it. You got Harbaugh swearing by him. He wins. He's solid. He's consistent. But, like, they wouldn't throw. They'd have a lead. And it's smart football, don't get me wrong. But they play at Penn State. They literally didn't throw it in the second half. Never threw a forward pass. And so you start to go like, well, if he's that good, wouldn't you have him throw the ball more? I don't know. Again, is that way too layman to when you're considering drafting an NFL quarterback in the first round?
No, I think these are the kind of things that we have to dig into as team builders, right? You can't just go on the fact that he's a winner, because he is, and we love that. We love his personality. We love his competitiveness. I mean, the dude was at the combine doing all the things that he needed to do, right? Sure. Everything. We love that. That said, if there's a struggle throwing to the left side and some of those stats are off and the data is off on him being a left-hand, to the left side of the field throwing guy, we need to dig in there and find out exactly what the reason is. Or we need to find out why they did not throw him when they could have thrown him, right? Again, he is a winner. Where does he end? Where does that put him? Doug, that makes me think, okay, is he a 12 to 14 guy? Is he really a top 5 or 4 or 6 or 8? That's still questionable right now.
Okay, this is a hard one. I'm not going to ask you who the Mr. Irrelevant next Brock Purdy is, but you brought up Kirk Cousins, and we have seen those mid-round guys, some mid-round guys do really, really well, have a tremendous amount of value. And obviously there's going to be a quarterback run at the start. Do you have somebody who you think is a second or third day guy that you're like, you know what, that's one in which I like the tangibles and the intangibles, even if other people may be missing?
I don't think I have the right answer for you right there, and I'm sorry. When you call me back in 3 weeks, I will have that.
Okay.
I've been so focused on these main guys and really trying to work through.
So let's. I know we're a little short on time here. So let me just ask you, when you see Caleb Williams play, because what I hear is, man, he's hero ball, but he doesn't have a great offensive line, doesn't have a great defense. Some of the fundamental stuff isn't great, but he's got a ton of talent. That feels like a lot of the Pat Mahomes stuff. But I'm not trying to make him into Pat Mahomes. So what do you see when you watch the tape?
Look, I see an outstanding athlete, a guy that can move, as we know, in the pocket like crazy. He can stay in the pocket and move, or he can run and open things up. The ability to move, throw off balance, those are the kind of things that are special elements. He's got the accuracy you're looking for. He can throw at all levels. When it was quoted out there recently, I think it was by Merrill Hodge. I have a great deal of respect for him, but he said he's not special. I respectfully disagree with that. I think this kid is very special. What the world is trying to work through right now is trying to figure out where is he as the leader of the football team. And everyone, as you know, can look at all the special elements. They want to make sure this guy can lead them into years and years, and he not only has the offense, Doug, but he has the entire team. That's what they need to figure out here.
All right, you had Dan Quinn was your head coach, and you went to the Super Bowl. Okay, and Matt Ryan was your quarterback, and he's the MVP of the league. So, and I know he's been in Seattle when they had Russell Wilson, and they won a Super Bowl. And I know he's been in Dallas, and they've had Dak. But usually, you try and replicate somewhere you've had the most success with previously, right? Who do you think Dan Quinn fits best with Dan Quinn, assuming Caleb's off the board?
Well, assuming Caleb's off the board, I mean, look, I'm a huge Jaden Daniels fan. I think what he brings to the table is, again, outstanding athleticism, the ability to he can run even better than Caleb can, as you know. And his improvement over the last year is something to me that has taken me back, because I love how he's evolving all the time here. I love him for that organization. I don't know where he goes beyond that, if someone would trade up to move in front of them, but I think he's worthwhile of being considered for sure at the second pick.
Make sure you download the Sumer Sports Show podcast. Thomas Dimitroff's two-time Executive of the Year in the NFL. He and Eric Eager do a great job, and you get more breakdowns and more interesting analysis like this. Real stories from a guy who actually lived it. Thomas, thanks so much for joining us. Let's talk soon.